For our final presentation before we break for a bit of afternoon tea, I'd like to invite Ngarrindjeri actor Russell Smith to the stage to read a small letter from an eyewitness to the fire.
A bit nervous to stand up here in front of that sign. Macquarie Street, September 22nd, 1882. Dear old Frank, I won't forget the date of this letter in a hurry, for the poor old exhibition was burnt down this morning. About 5:15 we opened our window to look for the comet, and we saw it just over one of the towers. There was no sign of either smoke or flame then, but at 5:45 we looked out again and could scarcely see the dome for the smoke. In an instant, it seemed the whole building was on fire, and I shall never forget the sight. The lead melted and ran in a stream all along the ground, and the flames were perfectly awful. In about 10 minutes, the dome fell with a fearful crash, and then the heat was really unbearable, and we had to shut the windows. The paint outside the windows all cracked, and the windows cracked. The fire engines came up, but it was too late, and all they could do was play on the houses around. You could hear crash after crash, and the flames seemed to reach enormous heights. The sun rose and was, of course, quite blood colour, with fire, and it seemed to be spinning round and round. And every now and then, all the smoke and dust and flames, we could see the reflection on the sea beyond. It was lovely. Tower after tower fell, and when the glass was all burnt and broken, we could see the flames inside the statue of the Queen on the fountain. It stood such a long time with the flames all around and above it. It blazed for an hour and a half, and now all that remains are skeletons of the 4 towers and a huge heap of smoking, smouldering black rubbish. You know, numbers of people had their offices in the building, and an enormous amounts of paper and deeds and all had been lost, besides all the minerals and the statues that were inside. There are dozens of rumours about what time the fire began and how it caught, and some say it was an accident, and others that one of the discharged clerks set it on fire in revenge. Others that whoever did it put some combustible stuff all around the building. But I don't believe that anyone could go and deliberately set fire to it, so unless something is proved to the contrary, I will say it was an accident. Now at night we see flames here and there, and that we could not in the daylight, and they seem to be principally down by Government House stables. Won't the water and the ruins look lovely in the moonlight tonight? The poor old garden palace is burnt down just 3 years and 5 days after it was opened. That, you know, was the 17th of September, 1879.
So that, of course, was an extraordinary eyewitness account by Ethel Pockley, who was a young 14-year-old who I still wonder what she was doing up at that wee hour, looking at comets. A little bit dubious. But I think you get an extraordinary sense of the building and it's the affection people had for the building. And that letter, and of course we should thank the Royal Australian Historical Society who hold on to that collection. One thing that you would have noticed as well that sort of reminded me when we were talking with Wes is this idea that it's important to remember that was a very strong westerly wind coming in on the 22nd of September. And that westerly wind forced the fire across onto the parkland, away from the city, away from all the houses, away from all the buildings that had been constructed. And in a strange way, that westerly wind perhaps saved Sydney. and save Sydney from being lost altogether. And I think there's something in that idea of country, the wind, the landscape, the waters, keeping these stories alive. We now have a small 30-minute break just to stretch our legs and maybe grab a drink in the foyer. And those of you who haven't, you have a bit of a moment to run over to the research library and have a look at the collection there as well. So please join us back here at 3 o'clock to start again. Thanks.